Folks, welcome to Chewing the Gristle, the podcast with yours truly, Gregory S. Koch, Esquire, also known as Gregory Kochery in some circles. It's brought to you by our friends at Fishman transducers, if you will, and it features just random conversations with various guitar and music friends, just kind of shooting the breeze or chewing the gristle, if you will. Due to my road work, we're going to stay away from seasons, but we're going to drop these as they become available. We appreciate you tuning in these years. We're going to keep on doing this as long as we can, folks. If you're enjoying them, we're enjoying them. Can you dig it? Let's chew the gristle. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we gather around the gristle fire once again. Today's guest, Amani Burnham, a young guitar phenom who's burning up the socials, but also just burning on that guitar. Some frightening Hendrixisms as well as his own material. He's got a new record coming out on Blind Pig Records. Ladies and gentlemen, this week, we are chewing the gristle with Amani Burnham. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, we gather around the gristle fire for a little chewing the gristle with yours truly, Greg Koch. Today, we've got a young man, a fiery guitar demon. And his name is Amani Burnham. He's got a new record coming out on Blind Pig Records on May 29th. And Amani, it's great to meet you. I actually came across your stuff on Instagram a while back, and I immediately have my radar out for anybody who really gets the Hendrix thing.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, oh yeah, because it's all the secret sauce. It's the secret handshake stuff.
Yeah.
And you've got it all over the place, and I love it. So give us a little background about yourself and where you come from, how you got started, that kind of thing.
So I'm originally from Ethiopia, and I was adopted. I was only a few months old, so I don't really remember much. But I was adopted. I moved to Rhode Island, and just kind of then now we moved to Connecticut, like 10 or maybe even 13 years back. But my dad was the one who really introduced me to a lot of older stuff. I was as a kid, I think the number one band and like kind of my first guitar hero was I love the Beatles. Mm-hmm. I still love the Beatles. It's kind of hard not to now.
Right.
And then my first guitar hero was Chuck Berry. So those are my I forget. I used to watch this it was like a live concert of his. I forget which one it is, but yeah, I used to watch that all the time as a kid, and that's when I really started to get like into like a lot of older music and stuff. And then when I was 9 years old, I think I started. My first instrument I learned was drums. So I was a drummer before I was a guitar player, and then I think after maybe 2 years, that's when I started getting into. I started taking guitar lessons, but I didn't. For me as a kid, it was like I didn't take it as seriously as drums because I was progressing more on that. So I wouldn't even really practice. But when I want to say like 15 or 16, it was around COVID. So, there's nothing else to do anyway.
Exactly.
So that's when I really like picked up the guitar. I was like, all right, well now let's see what I can do. You know what I mean? So that's where it started. Excellent.
And so with the whole idea of, it is weird because in this day and age, because of access to the internet, it's not unusual for younger people to get into older music, but at the same time, it's a little weird because a lot of people, your schoolmates and stuff, probably aren't on the same page. How was that experience for you? Did you feel like kind of a loner, or did you have some people that were on the same page with you?
Well, it was. I guess technically mostly I was a loner, but like I didn't necessarily feel like that because I was also listening to. Like a lot of like hip hop and rap music from nowadays, and I still do. If I'm hanging out with my brother or like my friend, I'll listen to a lot of that stuff. But sometimes if we're playing like cards in the basement, I'll put on my older playlist so we can listen to some of that. But I never necessarily felt like a loner, but because I listened to the music that they did as well. But it was a little bit like that.
And did you have when was the first time you put like a band together?
It was 2024 was when I put August late. I think it was like late August of 2024 is when I put together the band for the first time. And I played with people before, but I never, experienced like having a band doing like gigs with an actual band and stuff like that. So it was fun. It was definitely a good learning curve for me. It's funny because I formed the band. It was like late August of 2024, and then maybe either late September or sometime in September, Blind Pig actually reached out. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm kind of happy that all worked out.
Excellent. So as far as putting together the material for your record, kind of did you start writing tunes right away, or are you more of an interpreter, or is it a combination of the both?
So some of the songs in the album I've had since I like started really getting into guitar. So some of them I had since I was like 16, and some of them were a little bit more recent. But basically, when I got the actual official offer and I was signed and everything, we were talking about songs. I already had a good back catalog of stuff I really wanted to get out, just because I've had them for like the last like 5 years or so. So
yeah. Awesome. And are you constantly writing new material? Is it something you like to do on the regular?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's nowadays I don't write as much, or I don't come up or write with as much blues rock stuff anymore, which I still will. If it comes up, it comes up. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying not to. But nowadays, since I've been getting like way more into the Beatles and like a little bit of a Thin Lizzy stuff, I like writing, sort of ballads and maybe some pop songs that, people also might enjoy, just because it's fun, and I kind of want to try to expand my musical like vocabulary, like playing wise and writing wise. I think that's definitely helpful.
So what kind of stuff are you listening to these days, in addition to, the stuff that your friends and stuff were listening to as well? What are some things that at first inspired you that you still listen to, and other things that you're discovering now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Hendrix was definitely like the first thing I was really, I was way into, and I still am way into. Nowadays it's been some Jimmy. It's been actually a ton of Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. And nowadays I try to listen to like other people's, sort of like blues rock albums, or like albums that are coming out nowadays that are in the same sort of genre, just because I'm kind of interested and curious to see where people's like heads are at regarding, the genre and how it's going to be able to evolve over time and what it might mean for the future. So that's kind of where my head's at now. But I'm still listening to a lot of Beatles. I mean, that's probably never going to change. Definitely a lot of Stones, of course. I'm going to try to start getting into like some Badfinger. I think that just because I don't know. I heard, Day After Day is like one of my favorite songs. I know they got some more hidden gems in there.
Exactly. Well, let's get into the Hendrix thing a little bit, because I'm an old school Hendrix fanatic, and I love listening to Jimmy all the time. And there's various different things that I've gravitated to over the years, and just curious, what's the first stuff that grabbed you? And the stuff you like to listen to more than others? Because obviously when he was alive, he only had really the 4 records out, if you include Band of Gypsies, or I suppose you could say 5 if you have put smash hits in there. But all the stuff has come out since then, which I don't think he would have. Some of the posthumous stuff that came out right afterwards were stuff he was working on for a studio record. But a lot of it is stuff he probably wouldn't have wanted to see the light of day, but as a fan, I find it fascinating. But what's stuff that you like?
So I think the song that like first got me into it, I remember like as a kid, since my Chuck Berry was my first guitar hero. My dad showed me Hendrix playing Johnny Be Good
at Berkeley.
At Berkeley. That show was on my birthday, May 30th. So I thought that was also cool. But yeah, so that was the first like sort of live concert, not the whole concert, just that clip that I saw. And, he was playing with his teeth. So as a kid, you're going to like that. And then when I was like 15, the stuff that the first song I like remember specifically getting into was called Valleys of Neptune. Oh yeah. It was on the album Valleys of Neptune. Right. I don't know what it was. It wasn't like there was anything like really flashy in that song, but it was just, I just thought it was a good song. And nowadays I try to like listen to a lot of the live stuff, just because it's never the same, right? And each concert's always different, so it's just always entertaining to see. Obviously, he's going to play this maybe this time. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it's interesting because my older brother had all the records.
Yeah.
Because he went to high school from 66 to 1970, which is right when Jimmy's career was. So
that's his career, yeah.
Exactly. So I was 14 years younger than my brother, but we had to room together because there was 5 girls in between. But so I had access to that stuff. But I remember by the time I got into Hendrix, he was already dead, but I had no idea, because I'm this young kid, I'm like, 6, 7 years old, and for some reason loved listening to these tunes. And I remember that the Cry of Love record really got me. That and Axis Bold as Love.
That's my favorite album, yeah. Axis.
Yeah, Axis is my all-time favorite. And and what's so weird about it, even after all these years, I'm always finding little things that you didn't hear before. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, especially like there's plenty of like YouTube accounts that post all like the bootlegs and stuff like that. And like once in a while you see the accounts get like taken down and stuff like that because like, it's technically copyright, I think. So, but I still find even now I still find, little things here and there, and like certain live versions that, are very different. Because I love the live version of Red House because like some of the licks he plays are really, it's not like the stuff on the album. You know what I mean? It's like, totally. It's really interesting to hear and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I was thinking of, as you just mentioned the live version of Red. It's one of my all-time favorite from the Hendrix in the West record. Is my favorite. But what's interesting about that is that you listen to those bootlegs from like late 68 into early 69. Again, this is getting pretty geeky.
It's okay. And I'm in the same boat as you.
But just his tone was just
right. Yeah.
And as much as those guys weren't kind of getting along and it was getting towards the end, it's like, that's my favorite era, is that early 69.
Yeah. Because it was very, I just like that he would extend a lot of the stuff and it was very free. I mean, that's why I like, we actually do his version of Sunshine of Your Love.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's so, well, my bass player knows it like the back of his hand. And it's just so fun because you could they just played anything they wanted in that little like break session with the bass solo. But it's just like, the sound, they all hated each other, but like when they got on stage, it's like it's still good. So.
Yes, absolutely. And you were talking about other different accounts online. Have you stumbled across the Belly Button Window channel?
Yeah. I still do that. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's this channel, and they use an AI voice.
Yeah.
And it's Hendrix's career from the moment he goes to England until like a month after he dies. And it's like a daily diary based on his diary, Mitch's diary, articles at the time. It's insane.
Exactly. It is insane because that's a lot of work to do because there's just a ton of stuff. There's a ton of books out there.
Right.
And like, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's cool because some of those, it's like, I always like to see him like, oh, what was he doing? What was he doing on my birthday? You know what I mean? Because I think I know in 1970 it was Berkeley, and then I think in 69 it was the San Jose Pop Festival. I could be wrong. And then in 68 I think it was he was in Sweden, and then I don't know what it was for 67. But I always find that cool. It's like, oh, I wonder what was going on on those days. But yeah,
it's the schedule he maintained was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was. I mean, back then there was no rules. There was no.
Yeah, it's the Wild West. They were making it up as they were going along.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's more. I hope it's not like that now. It's more structured, I think.
Correct.
But, yeah, going from New York to Canada to Hawaii to I mean, you're just going like everywhere.
And plus, at the time, they would literally put the Marshall stacks and the heads through regular baggage claim. Yeah, and so they're like stumbling off the, with like the vinyl covers on them. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
And what I love is I was out at Wildwood doing a video, and some guy stopped in and he's like, "Hey, I know you're a big Hendrix fan, and so I wanted to bring you this." And it was a framed picture of a concert he went to in 1968 in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I've got this picture, and my son who plays drums with me, I said, "What do you notice about this picture?" And it's a picture of the side, the stage, and Jimmy's got Marshalls, and then it's Mitch's kit, and then it's Noel with the stack of Sun Coliseum heads or whatever he had.
Yeah.
And there's no mics on the drum kit.
Yeah.
They would just show up. And that's another thing crazy about when you're dealing with the belly button window thing. They'll just talk about, they showed up someplace, they couldn't get rid of the buzz, so Jimmy just said, "Yeah, we're done," and then he went downtown to jam with people.
right. It's like, dude, wait, what about this show? I that was always like I don't know. I mean, that was just him as a person, but like I always was like, I don't know, you gotta. In me personally, I would always just be like, the show's kind of got to go on. I mean, once you get to that level and there's like, you're playing in front of like 3,000 people, I wouldn't just want to walk off. You know what I mean? I'd be too kind of embarrassed. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially.
And then there's other times where it's like Jimmy was like really down. Like that Swedish footage where you could just tell he's in a bad mood.
Oh, I hate that's. Yeah. Oh my God.
And
yeah.
you're just
it's like
you're on top of the world, man. You could just play whatever you want. And then the thing was, I mean, I always got the fact that, you get sick and tired of having to play the same old stuff, but man, he had so many great songs he could have just reinterpreted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He could have played anything on that stage and people would have ate it up anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But again, you're dealing with, again, and the amount of drugs people were doing back then. I mean, back then they thought it was all like we would think about holistic medicine now. It's like, it's like, hey, you know what? Doing all that stuff all the time is going to be bad.
Yeah, it just is. And it's unfortunate. Like people had to find out like the hard way.
Right.
Yeah. So some of those concerts are like, I'm a little bit critical on, because it's like I'll listen to it and I'm like, I mean, I love him to death, but like if it's bad, you know what I mean? It's bad. It's like,
oh yeah.
But yeah, that's why I started getting. That's why I try to. But a lot of my early like years of just like listening to like his music, I was way into it, and I still am. But now I try to get out of it just because I don't want to. Because I could never be a what's it called? Like a cover.
Yeah,
a cover band.
You don't want to be a tribute act, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's plenty of those, and like I just feel like I have too many songs personally to just not play and only play like Hendrix stuff. I mean, I think I've only done one show where it was like I had to play his stuff, but it was like they asked for like, all right, can you play like a 30-minute set of Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Hendrix? I was like, all right, I can do that. I'm not gonna say no, but I couldn't do that for the rest of my life, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about kind of the time that we're in terms of because people are so, how do I put this? They're not exactly overtly willing to devour new music. You know what I mean? It's got to be codified by some.
They got to relate it to something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, if we're doing an opening slot for somebody, it's like I could play a whole set of my own, of different songs of mine every night. But at the same token, you're going to be playing in front of people who don't know who you are from Adam. So you got to find some way to get across from them. But I refuse to play a song. I mean, I'd like to, and I'm sure you're the same way, as I've seen you've done the same thing. It's like you reference the original, but you do your own thing with it.
Yeah.
Why else do it?
Yeah. I've been doing that like a ton recently, or like what I'll do is I'll play the rhythm section of Little Wing, but I'll sing Hey Jude over it. Or today I just came up with one. It's just like it's not a different song, but I play like these kind of like easy and like bright kind of happy chords, and then I'll sing like Voodoo Child over it. Like I'll just because it's fun, and it's just it's kind of funny to post stuff like that because people are like, oh wait, that's Hey Jude, but you're playing, you know what I mean, Little Wing. It's just always fun, you know what I mean? For Purple Haze, I'll do I'll play like I'll play Lenny, but I'll sing Purple Haze over it just because it's like, why not? It's kind of fun.
Indeed. So what other new stuff kind of in the blues rock realm have you been kind of listening to these days and interests you?
I try to listen to like I listened to Jared James Nichols' album. I know you've done a podcast with them.
Yeah, he actually he's from Wisconsin here, so he used to play in a band with my son years ago, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
They used to rehearse in my basement. Yeah, so
that's funny.
Right.
But him, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Albert Cummings, Eric Gales, Kingfish, Samantha Fish, all the fishes, all the kings, all the kings and fishes, right?
Perfect.
Joe Bonamassa, Jovan Webb. I try to listen to some people who are like currently on the label I'm with too. I'm sure I'm missing some, but that's just a couple of bunch I can come up with off the top of my head.
So what's the goal now? The record comes out, and where do you foresee, taking things within the next couple of years? What's your kind of idea of what you want to do?
I would love to have this be my job to, play music live. I mean, that's the goal. Not necessarily to get famous, but I love playing live. That's for sure what I want to do with my life. So I'm hoping, like, hopefully this album, I hope it does well enough where I'll get a good amount of gigs to support myself for the summer. Then hopefully I'll be able to, do another one and get more recognition from other people that would also want to work with me, so I can, facilitate this and kind of make it a job.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And who's your band right now? Do you have like a young crew of individuals that you play with, or is it kind of some established rhythm sections of a sort?
No, it's younger guys. One of them is 16. He's 16, my drummer, and then my bass player is 22, and I'm 20. So I told myself, like, even with the because I have a different band from 2024. So even with both bands, I tried to tell myself, like, I want to get people, my age who are also interested in not necessarily blues rock, but just playing live and trying to make this their job, because I think it's important for, it's important for people my age to see people my age like play music in a different sort of way that they're, not used to. Just because it's, live music is it's around, but it's a dying thing, you know what I mean? And it's just important for kids my age to see it. I sound like an older guy, even though I'm like 20, but it definitely is.
But what's strange about it is that even 25, 30 years ago, when my band was coming up, it was on the wane then. But but it's still, the great thing about now is that with the internet and with the ability to kind of foster your own fandom, meaning you don't need millions of people to be into. You just need enough people to support what you're doing. So if you have the ability through your different online portals and so on and so forth to be able to reach a crowd, so that when you're coming to a town, X amount of people are going to show up.
Yeah, that's
it's kind of irrespective. I mean, it would be great if there was, like it was back in the day, where there was a band on every street corner and
a club on every street corner. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? And even back in the day, I mean, just little things like, every time you went to a wedding, there was a band playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd be fascinated. You'd be a young kid, like, oh my God, look, there's real guitars and there's drums.
Yeah.
Is it going to be loud? And now it's like everything where you go, it's a DJ, live music. And then a lot of times when you go see a live band, it's silent stage and cover bands. But having said that, there is the opportunity now more than ever before to do your own thing and actually make a living doing it.
Yeah, and being able to like have a or having like apps like Instagram and like TikTok and Facebook, like that helps. It helps to keep it alive. I mean, if that stuff didn't come out, it would be. I mean, who knows what would happen? But I'm glad it did, because I remember I made my guitar account in 2023 specifically because I knew, like, the market now is like, you gotta, if you want to, try to make this your living, you gotta have some sort of online presence. It's not as much word of mouth, nowadays. But yeah, like a lot of like the newer music that comes out, like I'm talking like hip hop and like rappers and stuff like that. Like it's just if you go see them live, it's way different. I mean, maybe sometimes they might like not have, like, I don't know. I've just heard, like, it's, my friend I think he went to go see Emily Chapa, and he's just playing his he's just playing his song through speakers, even with him singing in the background, and he's also like rapping like on it, and he's just like kind of running around and dancing. I mean, that's good. That's a form of entertainment. I mean, that counts. But it's not as like, for me, it's not as fascinating as seeing somebody like actually play notes and sing at the same time and be able to, kind of hold a crowd that way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's very different.
Well, and the upside of all that too is that people that know how to do that will always be able to work, because no matter how inundated people get with the artificial stuff, they always seem to react viscerally to the real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you just gotta keep at what old Frank Zappa said. They said, what advice do you have for people in the music industry? He said 2 things: don't give up and never stop.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank.
Yes. I'm a big Zappa fan as well. Have you delved much in the Frank world?
A tiny bit, yeah. Some of the first songs I heard from his was Muffin Man, which I think I'm gonna. I used to do that with the other band, with my first band. I think I'm gonna do that again, just because it's such a fun song.
Oh yeah.
I remember I used to listen to Dance It. I think it's like Dancing Fool. That was just that was when I was a kid. And then I listened to Black Napkins.
Yep.
And Pink Napkins. Both of those were really good.
Right.
I listened to and then I remember I have all the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar ones.
Oh yeah.
All the variations. So and then I think that might be it. Oh, and then I like Cosmic Debris. I always thought that song was funny.
Yes.
But so yeah, I've dived into it like a little bit, not as much though.
Yeah, when I was young, and the first records I got into, my brother had a few of them, my sister had a few of them, but my favorite ones were kind of all in that early mid 70s lineup with George Duke and Chester Thompson on drums and so on and so forth. But there's a Live at the Roxy and Elsewhere is just a delight, and then Overnight Sensation is a great record, and Apostrophe. So those 3 are definitely worth the deep dive. And what's so crazy about someone like Zappa is that, I have got like a dozen Zappa records, or I had like a dozen Zappa records, and I considered myself a fan. You know what I mean? And then you realize, he's actually got like almost 40 records out or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I remember I was out, and I've got to know Dweezil a little bit over the years, and I sat in with them one particular night, and as I'm waiting to go on, they play this song called Sleep Dirt. And I'm like, what is this song? And I'm like, this is and then I realized, so then I started downloading record after record, and I'm like, oh my, I had no idea he had all this stuff.
I know. Yeah. I remember, I mean, I bet most of it isn't even on Spotify, but I tried to find one, because there was I think it was an album. There was it was called like We're Only in It for the Money.
Yeah.
It's like it looks like Sergeant Pepper. And I think they got Jimbo in the corner there.
Exactly.
But like I tried to find that in record stores. I couldn't even find it on Spotify. But yeah, there's so many albums of his that are just like I've never even heard of.
You know what? I was just thinking about one of my getting back to old Jimbo. I remember when I was a kid, I was like a freshman in high school, and I was total Hendrix fanatic. And this is back in the day when there's no internet, right? So if all the bootlegs were done on vinyl, and you had to send away for them or go to record swaps, and I wasn't into any of that, right? But there was a guy I went to high school with who was like 3 years older than me, and he had a bunch of bootlegs, and he lent them to me, and I recorded a bunch on cassette tape, like a pirate, like a good pirate should.
There you go.
But my favorite thing was the Driving South, the 2 versions from Live at the BBC.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because to me, especially the one, I can't remember which one over the other one, but they're both fantastic. But it's like when I heard that, I was like, that epitomizes everything I love about guitar. You know what I mean? It's like,
me too. Yeah.
The funky rhythm playing, the cleanest soloing, and then finally when he hits the fuzz, and it's just
I know. Yes, it is. Yeah, and I love like I said before, I was a drummer before I was a guitar player. So and I loved my drum teacher was like into like a lot of fusion and like a lot of jazz stuff. So I mean, I love Mitch Mitchell as a drummer. I mean, he like a lot of his early playing is like it's very, very, very swing, and I just love that because it's I don't know if it's almost hard to imagine like a lot of those early like Hendrix songs without that swing. It just wouldn't. I feel like it wouldn't hit the same. I mean, I obviously Jimmy's a good guitar player. I'm sure it would be fine, but I just love love Mitch's aspect to his work and Noel. I mean, I know Noel wasn't really like the biggest draw in, but like he was. I don't know. He laid it down. I mean,
yeah,
some of the
two
stuff
worked. Those two worked.
Yeah, it did work. I mean, and some of like I listen to some of the live stuff. It's like I don't even know how he's like keeping up and like not slowing down. You know what I mean? Because Mitch and Jimmy could just go on and on and on, and like Noel was just you have to lay it. Somebody has to lay it down in the band. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, and I'm glad Noel did it. And I think it's just sounded really nice.
Well, now that you've opened up this line of conversation, I find that it's weird that no one really talks about this, but obviously between Woodstock, I mean, again, this is deep dive Hendrix geekdom, but between Woodstock and when the Experience emerged again in the spring of 1970 with Billy Cox on bass and Mitch Mitchell, something happened to Mitch because it was gone.
And you know what? I talk about this. I mean, I don't talk about this with anybody because nobody even really. I got nobody to talk about it with. But yeah, it does. Like I think not my drum teacher, but like the other teacher that was in the same building, like said it was because he switched to match grip. He used to play traditional all the time, and he switched to match. So it's like it's for him. I'm assuming people from that era who would play like there were like jazzers and stuff like that. So I couldn't imagine him playing match that much. That's my theory, or that's something that could be possible. But yeah, no, you're right. It didn't hit the same. It really didn't, and it was kind of upsetting. That's why I don't listen to as much Hendrix stuff from like 1970, just because the drums don't really hit the same.
Yeah, they don't, and because it's bizarre. Because when you listen to the Woodstock thing, Mitch is still Mitch. He's got the snap.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's got the swing. He's got the bounce. And then when he returns, it's just his tempos. I mean, I think it was some kind of chemical thing, and I don't know what it was. If he drank too much and had a little bit of wet brain, or I don't know. All I remember is that years ago, someone. There used to be a drummer by the name of, I think his name was Myram Grumbacher, that used to play with Pat Benatar. And he told this other mutual acquaintance of ours, or a guy that he knew, that Mitch had approached him at some point in the 90s and said, "Hey, can you show me that stuff I used to do?" So I think it's very possible that he had some kind of chemical-induced brain situation. I mean, and again, I don't know. All I know is that, and you've noticed it as well. I mean, just tempos were weird. I mean, it's like there's so many.
For me, it was the fills. Like the fills were a lot more straight. It also could have been like, because he was, Jimmy started playing with Buddy a lot more after Woodstock, and even a little bit before. But like maybe he just thought, it was. I don't know, maybe something with Buddy because the difference between Mitch and Buddy are like literally like night and day.
Right.
Like Buddy was more like he was straight and like he was hard rocking, and he would vary, but he wouldn't vary off in as much as Mitch did. Whereas Mitch was very loose, and it was very like you never knew what was going to happen, but you knew he would end up where he needed to be.
Right.
So maybe it was just something like that, but. Yeah, I know. I've noticed that, and it's kind of upsetting. It's like, oh my god,
because so many of those newer tunes were so cool. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, and I don't. I really just don't listen to the live stuff from 1970. I'll listen to like the the Cry of Love album.
Yeah,
sometimes I like some of the songs in there, but yeah, I see what you mean.
I've always got a thing for the Hey Baby. New Rising Sun tune. Any version of that I love, but the studio one that's on the Rainbow Bridge soundtrack, that's kind of the one. Even though that was a throwaway because like, is the mic on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't blame him for releasing like a lot of the stuff that they have. I mean, he only had such a short career, and people loved him so much. It's like,
yes.
and I'm still finding things today, and I gotta go on like pirated websites and stuff like that just to find. There's still some stuff that like I don't even think I've just haven't even heard. So
I heard
I'm
one
looking
the other
forward
day
to
I
it.
hadn't heard, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
It was just some random jam, but it had the coolest riff in it, and I forgot where I've heard it online somewhere. But
yeah,
it's wild. I mean, literally, the tape was always running.
that's what I love. Yeah,
which is wild. Well, let's talk a little bit about like how this all influenced what the gear that you play, and are you a gear, expeditionary, as it were? I mean, what's your take on all that stuff?
I mean, not as much. I wouldn't say. I don't have a pedal board. I'm not one of those really. But I've got for pedals. I got a fuzz. I do have a fuzz face and a wah. I've got a pedal called the Waterfall. It sort of sounds like
that's a jam pedal. Yep, I've got one. Yep.
And then for amps and stuff, I just have a what is it? Fender Champion like 100, I think.
Okay.
And then right here, I've got a small sort of like Fender Frontman that I just play when I'm for like the videos and stuff like that. For guitars, I got just like a regular Mexican made Strat. I got gifted from PRS like a Fior. I don't even know how to say it.
A Fior, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Lettieri guitar.
Yeah. So I got that, I love that guitar to death. PRS gave me that, thankfully. I love them for that. Fender gave me a Jazzmaster, which I never had before. So I have that. I've got a 12-string that costed like $25 from my guitar teacher and is like broken, but that's okay. I've got my first like electric guitar was I still have it, a Gibson Les Paul.
Okay.
So Epiphone.
Epiphone Les Paul.
Yeah, Epiphone Les Paul. And then I've got I think it's called a GL.
GNL,
yeah. I've got one of those. Then I have on the album cover, that blue guitar that I have is one I made myself. So
nice.
I've got that one. I think that's it. I'm kind of happy I got some of these guitars just from people being like, I don't want this anymore. Here you go.
Well, there you go.
I thank God for that.
Take the guitars and run. Is my
right.
motto.
That's exactly what I do. I'll take as much as I can. Oh yeah, and I have one that's like I found in the garbage outside of my music store. So
nice.
Right. I think my friend, my drummer, he said he like sort of fixes and builds, not necessarily builds them, but like kind of reworks them. So I might see if he just wants to putz around with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, the gear thing never ends. I mean, it's
yeah. I've learned that.
And what's crazy to me is that well, it's not crazy, I suppose, but it's just part and parcel of the thing these days is that so many, if you're into guitar music, a lot of the people are players, right?
Yeah.
And so they perceive music in some ways, I'm not saying everybody, but in a large swath of people will if you have the vintage gear and if you have the right stuff and you have the boutique, that lends credibility to the music. And at some point, I mean, obviously there's enough people that can listen to music just for its music's sake, but there is a thing where it's like that adds mystique to the music, especially this type of music, which is, it just is what it is, but it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything vintage. I mean, I got the guitar I played the most, the Strat, the Mexican one.
Well, there you go. If it works,
got it from Guitar Center. So, you know what I mean?
Well, if it works, it works.
Right. That's how I always kind of like how I kind of always operate. I mean, it would be cool to have like a a vintage Strat, but I don't think I would. That's not like my kind of aspiration is to get one of those.
Right. So. You never know. It comes like a thief in the night.
It does, yeah. If the opportunity arises, I'm not going to go seek for it. But if the opportunity arises, You know what I mean? I'm gonna go for that. So.
Yeah. So do you go out and see other people play very often? Do you like to go see music?
I do.
Or see and hear, I should say.
Yeah, more so. I mean, obviously more so now because we either open for people or we go to festivals. But sometimes I'll go see locally. There's a place I have a show there at the Holy Trinity Stage in Middletown, Connecticut. They just have like it's called Music on Main. They just host a various kind of just acts, not necessarily blues rock acts. I mean, I think I'm gonna be the youngest person who's gonna play there, and I'm gonna be the loudest. I noticed like the first few are like folk, and then the one that's this month, I forget when, he's the blues guy, but I think he's more like kind of toned down, and like we're just like we're a loud rock act, so it should be interesting. But yeah, occasionally I'll go out and see people. I remember one of my first shows I ever went to was Tedeschi Trucks.
Oh yeah,
but I was too young to appreciate it at the time, so me and my brother just kind of complained that we were there the whole time. But I'm kind of kicking myself now because it's like, dude, you were Derek Trucks was just over there.
Was right there. Yes.
Yeah. I've seen Tedeschi Trucks. I saw which was for me, my bass player, this was like a dream. We got to see the Yardbirds at the Lancaster Blues Festival because we played there. And it's not the original members, but the drummer was the original member.
Yeah, Jim McCarty.
So we were kind of geeking out over that. I saw Gary Clark Jr. for my birthday. Saw Paul McCartney, which is also that's another one. It's like I'm never gonna forget that at Fenway. But yeah, I might be missing one. But yeah, I try to go out like occasionally, just because it's the same reason why I like try to listen to albums nowadays, just to see where people's heads are at regarding any sort of genre.
All right. So, of the gigs that you've done so far, how long of the sets you've been playing? Have you done a bunch of stuff where it's like I got to play 3-hour sets, or you just play an hour set? What's your experience been up to this point?
I mean, so when I with my first band, it was I remember sometimes we would have to fill like a 3-hour a 3-hour slot. So we just play like 20-minute songs or like 45 minutes of basically nothing. You know what I mean? We'd get breaks, which was good. So we would just be like, all right, maybe we can see how fast we can learn this song. But and then now more recently, it's been like an hour and a half, I want to say. But yeah, I think the longest we had to play for was maybe like not straight, was maybe like 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Okay. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah, but nowadays it's more just kind of an hour and a half. And we got a good some song, like I think we got 2 good songs we could extend, or maybe even 3. We got 3 we could extend. So we got plenty of songs for our set list.
Awesome. So you got no problem going up there and marshaling a crowd for as long as necessary.
Yeah, no, because I love it. I mean, if I didn't like it, if I didn't love it, then I wouldn't do it. And since I love playing live, I don't mind being up there for some amount of time.
Awesome. So whereabouts have you all played at this point? Have you done some touring yet around the country, or what's your experience been in that regard?
Really, I mean, with the old band, like the most we ever really traveled was we drove to Alabama. That was like my first time in like the South, so that was fun. And then, but with this new band, we'll be not necessarily touring, but we have a lot of dates where we've got a gig in Seattle. We're opening for 38 Special in Oklahoma, and then what's the one I just bought? And then we've got a gig in South Dakota, so we have to fly to that. But the rest, we just have to drive. We've only had 3 gigs so far with the new band, and it's gone pretty well. I mean, the first one was just kind of like this bar that was near my old college asked me if I wanted to, play. I was like, I got this new band, so this is kind of perfect. So we did that. And the second gig we had was the Lancaster festival, and then the third one was we played the Lancaster Festival again. We had two shows, but yeah, so we're all looking forward to it because it's kind of been our dream since we were kids. But yeah, it should be good.
So you mentioned some college activity. What were you studying in college?
Jazz percussion, because I don't know how to read music on guitar, or I do, but I'm too lazy to try to kind of sit down and learn it. But yeah, it was fine. I hate school. Honestly, I hate school even if I'm like kind of learning music and stuff like that. I have a hard time focusing. So it's never been fun for me. But
I got you.
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah,
yeah. Music school is an interesting scenario, especially now with the internet being what it is. You have access to so much information.
Yeah.
That if you're a self-starter, and most people who are doing the musician thing for performance sake and want to be performers, they're self-starting by nature. You're always learning stuff, and now you have access to the world right on your damn computer. So
exactly,
I like to say in this day and age, there's no reason to suck because you've got access. You got access to everything.
Yeah. I find like sometimes I'll learn things like my subconscious will just pick it up, or like as I'm playing it, I'm remembering, oh, this is what that lick sounded like, and I'll just play it. So that's kind of that's how I've been learning. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll try to learn this little bit, or sometimes I just I don't necessarily. I just kind of putz around and kind of see what sounds cool. You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with that.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite things, about how Hendrix played is that he was not schooled. He just putzed around and found a bunch of cool shit. And because he loved it so much, he just always came up. And I think that there's something to be said for that when you're not, and again, that's not to say that studying isn't valid. Of course it is. But there's a different perspective of assembling and being fascinated by certain things just for the joy of it and discovering it almost just kind of randomly as opposed to as a part of a curriculum. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. First, yeah. It's just the act of going to school for me has always just been like, just makes me shake my head. But yeah, exactly. Some of the best players they just, it's not like they went to any institution. I mean, sometimes, they do, but they just learned from just listening to what they heard on the radio or just from sitting down and just playing for hours and nonstop. You know what I mean? So,
right. Totally. So what's the gig you're doing out in Seattle? Is it a Hendrix-centered thing where they experience Hendrix folks at all, or no, not really?
No. It's we have the gig in Seattle. We're playing at the Triple Door.
Oh yeah, the Triple Door is a good place. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's good. All right, that should be good then. And then from there, we're going to the Salmon Arm Blues Festival. We're just gonna hoof it up there. But yeah, I've been to Seattle before. Obviously, prior to listening to Hendrix, I kind of fully now. But yeah, it should be good. We're
Triple Door is a good joint, and that's
good. Okay,
it's a great room, and the food's good.
That's good. That's always good to hear too.
So yeah, Seattle has them, and there's a good guitar shop out there, Emerald City Music.
Okay, yeah,
and they've got some good guitars lurking in there. I visited there and I needed to leave immediately because there was the possibility of some problems with
taking some home. Yeah. For me, money wise, I'm like I'm trying to save my money, so that's why I've been like kind of thankful I've got all the guitars I got.
Right.
So, but I know for a fact like later I'm definitely gonna have a ton more than I ever planned.
Well, you know what I like to say. You know what the best guitars are? Free ones.
Exactly, right? I mean, it's just something about it. Something about the way they sound. It just sounds so free.
They're a delight.
Play so free. Right? Yeah.
And then you can always parlay the free ones into other ones.
Exactly. That's the other thing. I mean, I think I was kind of planning on doing that for one of the ones I have, I think. But yeah, right. You could always do that.
Now, I didn't ask you this, but are you one of those that tunes down to E flat, or you don't, or are you just standard tuning?
Yeah. Well, I try to. Yeah. For live, we've just been E flat, but I've got, I got a guitar in standard. I've got the PRS is in standard. The Strat that I have is in E flat. The Jazz Master I have is in D, and then the acoustic I have is, I don't know. The acoustic I just tune by ear, so I just make it really low and just because it kind of sounds cool. But yeah, for live we've only played in E flat.
Yeah, and describe to folks why you like playing in E flat.
Well, I'm not the greatest singer. My voice doesn't sound deep, but like obviously I think for guys, like singing in a lower register always helps. E flat has definitely helped me with getting notes that I can't in standard tuning, and especially with being a whole step down in D. That also there's like a whole for me now. There's like a whole range that I can really work with. So it helps. Sure.
Which is wild because that's why Jimmy did it. So it was just a little easier to sing stuff. But
I feel like
the resonance that's why it sounds so good. It just has a thing.
Yeah, it does. And I always appreciate just how the kind of tone each tuning brings off.
Yeah, exactly.
It changes, so.
I had no doubt about it. And Eddie Van Halen would tune to E flat. There, and of course, people will talk about how, A440 isn't the true resonance of things. Things should actually be tuned down because then it's more, they get a little more, mystical about the affiliation. But, if it sounds good, it sounds good. And that's the bottom line.
I always say, like, people are always going to appreciate good music, whether or not, nobody's going to pay attention to, what tuning they're really in or stuff like that. So.
Exactly. But yeah, it's definitely got E flat as a thing. I don't have any guitars in E flat. When I go out and touring, I do have, baritones and stuff that I'll use for specific things. But every time I want to play along with Jim, I got to tune the guitar down, and it's just every time I plug in and play guitar in E flat, it's like, well, there it is. There's that sound.
That's kind of why I keep guitars in different tunings, just because if I want to learn, because sometimes like if I want to learn something that's not Jimmy, most of the time it's in standard. So I don't want to have to tune up my Strat, so I just pick up the PRS. Or if I want to listen to or learn something in E flat, I got the guitar for E flat. So
absolutely. My favorite thing about we were talking about those bootlegs and stuff. I love how there was no tuners back then. They'd go up on stage and you would literally go, we're going to just tune for a minute and no, give me an A.
Yeah, exactly. It was very organic. Yeah, exactly. I always thought that part was funny because it's like sometimes like the breaks. I mean, you don't see it. I mean, because if they like release a live album, you don't hear it as much. But like on the bootlegs, you can see like the giant space in between some of the songs. It's like, all right. It was all very carefree, which was kind of what made the music so good, I thought.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that a lot of times you see him walking through the crowd and he's carrying the guitar and the wah and the fuzz. It was very just happening.
Yeah, and I think that's why. I mean, I have those pedals too, but I just love the fact that it was so simple and it still sounded so good. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't. I mean, it's cool having a whole pedal board because you can make any sound you want. But I just think it's just something about it is kind of cool to come up there with just two pedals, maybe even three, and just play the best sort of music you could possibly make. So.
Right. And what's so weird about it back then too is that little did we know that the stuff they just ended up using would be the best stuff. I mean, of course, part of the reason why we think it's the best stuff is because all those guys used it.
Yeah.
But, the bottom line, when you got a Marshall cranked, that whole realm of the volume knob of the guitar are the greatest clean and dirty sounds on the planet.
Yeah, it goes a long way turning. Like if you have the amp cranked, like I do this now. If you have the amp cranked out and you turn the guitar volume down, I mean, that's even with the fuzz face on, it'll still sound like really, really nice.
Especially with the fuzz face on. That was the other thing. It's like fuzz faces, whatever, you could have them on, turn the volume down, you get this hi-fi, glorious sound.
Yeah.
And then you turn it up and it's just pure and mitigated filth.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, you'll like this story. A buddy of mine used to play in Leonard Skinner, Ed King. He was in a band called the Strawberry Alarm Clock, and they toured with Hendrix in 1968, I believe. And he told me this story, which I just find fascinating because I love Snickers bars so much. But he said he was backstage and they whisked Jimmy in right before he went on stage. and he was frantically restringing his guitar. And while he was restringing his guitar, his roadie brought in like one of those vending boxes like you see at a movie theater of Snickers bars. And because Jimmy was rushing to get on stage and hadn't ate, he's restringing his guitar while this guy is unwrapping large full-size Snickers bars and just shoving them in Jimmy's mouth. You know, and then he grabbed another one and I thought, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. You know, that's what roadies are for. You know what I mean? They feed you.
Exactly. Where's my Snicker? I'm hungry. Where's my Snickers bar?
Yeah.
But that's hilarious. I just always have time for the Hendrix stories. I'm all about it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't think I've ever known anybody who's like, I mean, I know my drum teacher saw him in concert and stuff like that. And I know it's sort of like that, but yeah, I don't get to talk about it with really anybody. So
yeah, it's
nice.
It's nothing but good times. And what's funny is that when he played in Milwaukee here in '68, he played at this club called The Scene, and he did 2 sets. And the second set, he began with Axis Bold. It's the only time I think he played Axis live.
Bold is Love. Yeah, I heard that too. I love that show. Yeah. Both of them. But yeah, and I think he's also tuned down in that to maybe D. So that's so sick. Such a cool intro.
Yes, it's glorious. I did have an opportunity to do a few gigs with Buddy Miles back in the day.
That's cool.
And I just remember trying to pick his brain. You know, I was like, hey, so when you're on stage, I mean, what was the stage volume? I mean, I was trying to, and it was the weirdest thing about it to me was, it was just like it was another gig for him.
I know.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, and he didn't really have any remembrances of all the stuff that you'd think if you were a part of that, you'd be like,
it was, yeah. I mean, it was, I'm sure it was fun for him, but yeah, it was just, you know, they're just going about it was just a job. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
It's just hilarious how, like, because, you know, they're not going to try to remember it being like, this is going to be something legendary someday. They're just going about it like, here we go.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah,
exactly.
That happened.
I always liked Buddy and Billy and Jimmy. That was always I always liked that combo, because I think, you know, I mean, when Buddy would play like Foxy Lady with Jimmy, it's not going to sound that good, really. But when he plays when Buddy plays Message of Love, and Mitch tries to do it, it sounds better when Buddy does it. So,
totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's just, I always like that.
Or Easy Rider, the Easy Rider studio thing. And then when they would try to do it live with Mitch, it was like,
yeah, it doesn't hit the same. But,
you know what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah, but I love those, you know, one of my favorite, there was a record out when I was a kid, and it was one of these posthumously released records. It was an import, and it was called Loose Ends. And it was and it had like
Coochie Man.
Yeah. And it had the Burning Desire on it. That version of Burning Desire on there.
Good song. That's like such a I remember first hearing that song, and I was like, dude, there's so many little bits that I don't even know how Billy even caught up with all that, because there's so many like little bits that you had to remember. And like, it was just crazy.
It's one of my favorites. And they do it live a couple times on that full, you know, Band of Gypsies, all the concerts. But that studio version, on Loose Ends was like the closest they got to actually playing it.
Yeah, I wish that was released, because that's just such a really good song.
Yeah,
it's such a cool opening riff. There's so many cool riffs in that. The little breakdown section is really cool. Like
when it gets to the bluesy
gospel thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah, it never gets old. That stuff never gets old.
Yeah, I'll definitely never stop listening to it. But nowadays I'm trying to listen to more like other things. Even, you know, like I said, even stuff from like nowadays, it's always cool to hear, you know, certain licks that you hear now that I also learned from, you know what I mean, Jimmy and stuff like that.
Right.
And obviously Stevie Ray Vaughan was a big impact on that, on the blues scene. So I hear a lot of Stevie and a lot of blues rock players nowadays, more than Jimmy, I think. But
right. Have you done the Robin Trower deep dive at all?
Not yet. I might do that though, because a lot of people say I play a lot of, like, in my like lives that I do. A lot of people say that I play like him. But
what's interesting is that, I mean, obviously when I use a Univibe, I'm thinking Hendrix. But most people of a certain age because Trower stuff was absolutely drenched in Univibe. They'll all automatically go, "Oh, that sounds like Robin Trower." And I'm like, "Well, actually, it was Jimmy that used Univibe." But there was a time when I remember kind of all the guitar playing buddies would be like, "Yeah, it's a little too derivative of Hendrix," and he kind of got poo-pooed. And then years later, I started re-listening to him, and I'm like, well, what's cool about Robin Trower is that he saw, the story is that he saw, when he was playing with Procol Harum, the Hendrix show in Berlin in 1970, one of his last shows. I think it may have been the last show. Well, I think the last show was Farmon. But anyway, it was right before the end. And he heard what Jimmy's new music, kind of the direction it was going to, and it absolutely gobsmacked him so much that he just, he got rid of his 335 or whatever he's playing, started playing a Strat. And, and a lot of his song, I mean, obviously he's going after, it's kind of like he imagined himself, okay, what if Jimmy have lived and wrote some songs using that template of that Strat through Marshalls with Univibes and wah. And but there's some really good tunes, and that Jimmy Dewar singing, who was just a great singer and bass player, and there's some really cool songs. And then even to this day, it's like, what I like about Robin is that he doesn't really play licks. He kind of plays just utterances. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
It's like he just kind of feels things in the moment. And yes, there's some familiarity to some of the stuff that he plays, but it's a lot of just kind of random, true improvisation. Yeah. And I dig it. So, and his new record's pretty damn good. So, yeah, if you haven't checked out any of that stuff, of course, Bridge of Sighs, that record is
I've heard about that,
is pretty epic. But there's some really just good songs in addition to the playing. But anyways, well, listen, thanks for spending some time with us today. Great to meet you. I look forward to crossing paths one of these days. And good luck with the new record. And
thank you
take
very
care
much.
of yourself.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks once again to our friends at Fishman and to all you for checking out our show, which we call Chewing the Gristle. We're going to keep on keeping on. See you soon.